Hello, guys. Hello, guys. I am Hanros B. Ortega, and I am here to teach you about the characteristics of a good performance assessment. First is you have to have a clear target. Provide a clear description of a specific achievement expectations to be assessed. Measure one or more of the four achievement expectations. Assure that evaluators understand and remain aware of what they are assessing. And second, focused purpose. We should have that. Clarify intended uses of the assessment results. Specify whose information needs the assessment will meet, like the teachers, the curriculum developers, and the policy makers. Third, we should have a proper method. Use an assessment method that is used to the assessment goals, such as essays, direct communication, selected response, or extended investigation. Fourth, sound sampling. Provide a representative sample of all the questions that can be asked. Produce results of maximum quality and minimum cost in time and effort. Yield confident inferences about how the respondent would have done given all possible exercises. Accurate assessment free of bias and distortion. Present sources or present sources or inference and error that may have affected the development and implementation of the assessment. Anticipate sources of bias that can create ambiguity in results. Assessment works best when it is ongoing, not episodic. Assessment is a process whose power is cumulative, though it's isolated, but one-shot assessment can be the better than one. Improvement is best fostered when assessment entails a linked series of activities taken over time. This may mean tracking the process of individual students or of cohorts of students. It may collecting the same examples of student performance or using the same instrument semester after semester. The point is to monitor progress toward intended goals in a spirit of continuous improvement. Along the way, the assessment process itself should be evaluated and refined in light of emerging insights. Assessment strategies must be continually nurtured, evaluated, and refined in order to ensure success. Assessment fosters wider improvement when representatives from across the educational community are involved. Student learning is a campus-wide responsibility, and assessment is a way of enacting that responsibility. Thus, while assessment efforts may start small, the aim over time is to involve people from across the educational community. Faculty play an especially important role. Faculty play an especially important role, but assessment question can't be fully addressed without participation. But assessment's question can't be fully addressed without participation by student affairs, educators, librarians, administrators, and students. Assessment may also involve individuals from beyond the campus, either alumni, trustees, or employers, whose experience can enrich this sense of appropriate aims and standards of learning. Thus understood, assessment is not a task for small groups of experts, but a collaborative activity. Its aim is wider, better informed attention to student learning by all parties with a stake in its improvement. Successful assessment is dependent upon involvement of many individuals. Each person contributes his or her knowledge, expertise, and perspectives, thereby enhancing the overall assessment program. Assessment, therefore, works best when it is conceptualized as a group effort. Assessment makes a difference when it begins with issues of use and illuminates questions that people really care about. Assessment recognizes the value of information in the process of improvement. But to be useful, information must be connected to issues or questions that people really care about. This implies assessment approaches that produce evidence that relevant parties will find credible, suggestive, and applicable to decisions that needed to be made. It means thinking in advance about how the information will be used and by whom. The point of assessment is not to gather data and return results. It is a process that starts with the questions of decision makers, that involves them in the gathering and interpreting of data, and that informs and helps guide continuous improvements. Assessment is most likely to lead to improvement when it is part of a larger set of conditions that promote change. Assessment alone changes a little bit, but it is a greatest contribution which comes from campuses where the quality of teaching and learning is visibly valued and worked at. On such campuses, the push to improve educational performance is a visible and primary goal of leadership. Improving the quality of undergraduate education is essential to the institution's planning, budgeting, and personal decisions. On such campuses, information about learning outcomes is seen in an integral part of decision making and avidly sought. Through assessment, educators meet responsibilities to students and to the public. There is a compelling public stake in education. As educators, we have a responsibility to the publics that support or depend on us to provide information about the ways in which our students meet goals and expectations. But that responsibility goes beyond the reporting of such information. Our deeper obligation to ourselves, our students, and our society. It is the best to improve. Those to whom educators are accountable have a corresponding obligation to support such attempts at improvement. Assessment is most effective when undertaken in environment that is receptive, supportive, and enabling. More specifically, successful assessment requires an environment characterized by effective leadership, administrative commitment, adequate resources, faculty and staff, and development opportunities and time. But without a supported environment, most assessment efforts will fail to take root and grow. So that is it. So that is it for today, guys. I hope you learned something on this content. Thank you and see you.